Earth is a great planet. Humans are adapted to live on Earth. So why would humans ever need to leave Earth? Well, for the last few decades, scientists and people around the world believe we need to consider interplanetary travel and colonization, specifically Mars. We have been planning on going to Mars for many decades now. We have sent 2 Mars rovers to the Red Planet, and we've also been advancing technology and systems to make the trip and live on Mars. I'm here today to persuade you why we should continue the effort to colonize Mars. I will go over the reasons why we need to colonize Mars. I will go over the feasibility and logistics. Does it even make sense to try and go to Mars? And the financials of colonizing Mars. Can we afford something so large of a project like this? According to Mars One, Mars is the best planet for humans to colonize. It is one of the closest planets to Earth right now, and it also has a lot of the similar characteristics that Earth has. It has gravity that is about 40% as strong as it is here on Earth, which scientists say we can adapt to. Mars also has water. Water is a necessity for human life. Mars has water, so it is possible to live there. The temperatures on Mars are not too extreme, not too hot, not too cold to be completely doable. One reason why we might need to consider colonizing Mars is because of human population growth. According to our world in data, about 300 years ago in the year 1700, we had about 600 million people on this Earth. Today, however, we're all the way up to 7.7 billion people. At this rate, our population is growing so rapidly, we might need to consider moving out of our own home and into a new home, or sending people to a new home. The Australian Academy of Sciences believes the Earth is only meant to sustain about 8 to 16 billion people. So, time is coming quickly. But also, sadly, we can destroy ourselves. There are 2 possibilities for this, especially. World war and climate change. We've had 2 world wars already in which many deaths occur, and there is reason to believe with today's oppressive leaders and nuclear weapons, we could wipe out large groups of people and regions that may no longer make it a viable place to live. Also, as many of you know, there's evidence of climate change on this Earth. According to NASA, carbon dioxide levels are nearly twice as high in the last 50 years than they had ever been before in the history of this world. Rising temperatures may make this Earth no longer habitable for humans. Is it possible to go to Mars? And I believe it is. According to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, Mars is about 3 million miles away, give or take, given the day of the year that you're looking at it. This takes about 7 or 8 months to get there, which is a very short flight, given how large space is. The technology has been advancing over the last few decades that would make it viable for us to live on Mars. Specifically, a company known as SpaceX is designing technology meant solely to go to Mars. They have something known as the Big Falcon rocket, which has the power to get from Earth to Mars. It is the first of its kind. Labs and companies all over the world have continually been working on projects that are meant to go to Mars and stay on Mars. The current timeline for getting to Mars varies depending on what company you talk to. SpaceX, according to space.com, believes they can get to Mars within 6 years. Mars One, on the other hand, another company interested in going to Mars, believes it's going to take more like 12 years. There are lots of companies and people focused on colonizing Mars. Companies such as SpaceX and Mars One I've already mentioned, where their main focus is entirely meant for humans to colonize Mars. We also have companies like NASA, who are giving out government contracts to large companies like Boeing or Lockheed Martin for them to work on projects that will eventually be used to get humans to Mars. Finally, we should wonder about the financials of colonizing Mars. Can humans afford to go to Mars? Well, the money comes from multiple places. Money can come from either the government or from private investors. Investors are people that have a lot of money and can spare some of it to advance technology and get us closer to Mars. The government, on the other hand, such as NASA, is awarding government contracts to companies for colonizing Mars. According to the White House, the IRS brings in $3.4 trillion in US taxpayer money every year. That's just the United States. Imagine all the countries around the world who might also be interested in colonizing Mars. Different companies say different price tags on colonizing Mars. SpaceX just gives a general, it'll cost $500,000 per person to get to Mars. Mars One is a little bit more specific in what colonizing Mars will cost them. They believe it'll cost $6 billion for the first trip of 4 people to get to Mars. And after that, it'll cost $4 billion for every group after that to get to Mars. So given the price tag on getting to Mars and the technology already out there and the timeline that we're at, affording to pay for Mars colonization is definitely doable. I believe colonizing Mars is the next great venture for Earth. I believe it should definitely be taken seriously, and we should continue the effort to colonize Mars. It might be the only option we have one day, whether overpopulation, world war, or climate change might force us off of Earth. People might believe we're not ready to do that. We lived on Earth for 200,000 years, according to Universe Today. Why should we leave? How do we expect to be able to leave? This Earth has been so good to us. How can we just plan to go to another world? Well, it's not easy, I'll give you that. But companies, governments, and technology have given us the ability to do so. And we very well can be getting to Mars within the next 10 years.